research can provide fundamental answers about the safety of a drug, but it cannot replace studies on how the drug will interact with the human body. Clinical research refers to investigations or tests carried out on human subjects. The developers will start the investigational new drug process, a process they must go through before clinical research begins. As they plan the clinical trial, taking into account what they hope to achieve for each of many clinical research phases. So now, as we have discussed that after the completion of the clinical research process, the IND process starts. That is, the applicants, they have to file the IND application to the regulatory authorities, and then after only the clinical research process on humans can, the clinical trial on human can start. Stages of clinical trials. So first is designing the clinical trial. So first, the sponsor, they have to design the clinical trial process, like how the clinical trial will be conducted. Okay, what is will be the procedures, what will be the inclusion and exclusion criteria for the participants, and what is the study design. Okay, how will be the statistical analysis will be conducted. So all this is decided, and then a clinical study is designed. Okay, then clinical research, then again it is done in two phases, that is phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. So what will happen in phase 1, what will happen in phase 2, what will happen in phase 3, who will be the, how many participants will be there in each phase. So all this is decided. Then the investigational new drug application. So investigational new drug process is done. The application is filed. Now the FDA, they have 30 days time to object the IND. In case if they do not object the IND, the IND becomes automatically effective and the clinical trial process can start. Then asking for FDA assistance. Now in case if the FDA, they have any query, or if any FDA assistance is required related to the documentation, related to any procedure related queries, anything, if it happens in between when the clinical process starts, then that is a team of the that is a work of the regulatory affairs team to handle all these queries and to take all this type of assistance. Then FDA IND review team. So now the FDA IND review team, they will, in case if they have not objected the IND in those 30 days time, then they can conduct the inspection and audit. They can ask for any additional document which is required. If from the submission of any DSUR report they come across anything which is not in benefit of the participants, because according to that is Declaration of Helsinki, the principles of Declaration of Helsinki, it is the foremost priority for the researchers, for the investigator, that to ensure the well-being of the participants. Okay, nothing is above that. So first, in case if there are various adverse, for example, if there are adverse effects which are very frequent and they are also serious, so in that case the FDA can take a decision to stop the clinical trial process. Then the full documentation process will be done, the inspection will be conducted, the FDA will again go through the documentation, and if they feel like that this study should not be conducted or should not be continued, then they can terminate the study. And if in case if there is some changes which can be required, the dose can be changed, or change in the dose or dose modification is required. So depending upon that what is the condition, accordingly the action is taken. And after that, when the approval, then again the approval is granted, and then after that the the clinical trial process will start. So now clinical research refers to studies or trials that are done on people. Once preclinical research is complete, researchers move on to clinical drug development, including clinical trials and volunteer studies to fine-tune the drug for human use. As the developers design the clinical study, they will consider what they want to accomplish for each of the different clinical research phases and begin the investigational new drug process, a process they must go through before clinical research begins. So this we have already discussed, that before conducting the clinical trial process, there should be an IND application which is submitted to the regulatory authorities. So then after that, the clinical research is again, it is conducted into 3 phases. In phase 1, the study participants will be very less. It will be 20 to 100 healthy volunteers or people with disease condition, or maybe they are only the healthy volunteers, depending upon that what is the drug or what is the disease which is being studied. Then length of the study is for several months. The purpose is to study the pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, what is the dose, what is the safety of the drug, and nearly 70% of the drug moves to the next stage of phase 2. The next is phase 2. So in phase 2, the study participants increase than in comparison to phase 1. So the study participants are up to several hundred people with the disease condition present. Then the length of the study is several months to 2 years. So that may vary. Then the purpose is to get more knowledge about the safety and efficacy of the drug, and nearly 33% of the drug moves to the next stage of phase 3. In phase 3, the study participants in phase 3 is again, they are increased, and it is from 300 to 3000 volunteers with the disease condition. The length of the study is approx 1 to 4 years. Purpose is to get more knowledge about the efficacy and safety of the drug, and get more knowledge, because now the drug is exposed to larger population, to get more knowledge about the adverse reaction of the drug. And nearly 20 to 30% of the drug moves to the next stage, that is just that they reaches to the market. Then phase 4 study begins once the drug is in the market, where the study participants are from several thousand volunteers or people with the disease or with the disease condition. And now the main purpose of these pharmacovigilance studies or these post-marketing studies is to get more knowledge about the risk and benefit, or about the efficacy and safety of the drug. Then after, when the research like phase 3 studies are completed, then once the drug has been formulated, or its best efficacy and safety, for its best efficacy and safety, and the results from clinical trials are available, it's advanced forward for holistic FDA review. At this time, the FDA reviews and approves or does not approve the drug application submitted by the drug development company. So there is so depending upon that what type of drug it is, NDA, ANDA, BLA is filed, and the documentation is done. There is a proper procedure which is followed. So that we will discuss in module number 9, when we will be discussing about the regulatory filings, okay, and all. So that we will at that time we'll discuss that. So then in that case, now this the FDA review, they approves the drug or they do not approve the drug, depending upon whatever information is submitted to them. They can ask for the queries. So it generally takes nearly approximately the time of 6 to 10 months for a drug from its filing or from its regulatory submission to reach the market. Then post-marketing drug safety monitoring. So, following drug approval and manufacturing, the FDA requires drug companies to monitor the safety of its drugs using the FDA adverse event reporting system. So, for every country, there is a proper adverse event reporting system. Like for FDA, it is FDA adverse event reporting system, FAERS. For European Union, as I had told you, it is yellow card scheme. Then for India also, there's adverse event reporting system. There is a form which is managed by, and these all activities are managed by Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, IPC. So FAERS helps FDA implement its post-marketing safety surveillance program. Through this program, manufacturers, health professionals, and consumers report problems with approved drugs. So in case if there is any adverse effect which occur to the patients, in case if they are taking the drug, and so they can, through by filling up that form and giving the necessary details in that form, they can report that adverse drug reaction to the regulatory authority. Now then, FDA review team determines if an NDA is complete after receiving it. The review team has the right to decline the file, the NDA, if it is incomplete. The review team has 6 to 10 months to decide whether to approve the medicine if it is finished or following a part of the procedure. Now, what happens when the NDA submitted, NDA application is submitted in a file form, because it consists of various documents. It is in a form of a dossier which is submitted. So after receiving the file, first the FDA or the different departments of FDA, they review the file, that whether it is complete or incomplete. If the file is incomplete, if any document is missing or any information is not giving which is significant, then after that the FDA has right to decline the file, and they will ask the applicant to complete the file and then to submit it again. Okay. Then after that, as I have already told you, that the review team has 6 to 8, 10 months of time to decide whether they have to approve the medicine or not. Okay. So this will happen how? Each member of the review team thoroughly examines the area of the application that pertains to him or her. So there are different departments, like the statistical review is done, microbiological review is done. Okay, then the CMC review is done. So the different kind of reviews are done, and each membering team or each review team has a separate area which they review. Okay. For instance, a pharmacologist evaluates the data from animal studies, while the medical officer and statistician review the clinical data. Additionally, there is a supervisory review for each technical specialty that is represented to the team. Like for example, like a pharmacologist, they will evaluate the data which is obtained from the animal studies, or the biomedical officer or the biostatistician, they will review the clinical data. So accordingly, each individual, they have a different department, they have a proper expertise, and accordingly they will review that part of the NDA application. Then routine examination is carried out at clinical research locations by FDA inspectors. The agency searches for proof of data falsification, manipulation, or concealment. So there should be no the inspections are conducted, proper inspections are conducted, and documents are checked, so that there is no falsification, fabrication of the data can happen, or manipulation of the data can happen. An action package is put together by the project manager from all the individual reviews and other paperwork, including the inspection report. The FDA will use this paper as the official record. A top FDA official decides whether, based on the review team's recommendation. Then after that, when the inspection is completed, there will be an inspection report which is made. If there is any shortcomings, or if there is anything which is found which is not correct, then the FDA will take action against it. They will ask for the queries, there will be meetings which will be conducted. Okay. And then there will be a higher official. So according to the suggestions and recommendations of the team who has visited to the site for conducting the inspection, the inspectors, the further decision can be taken. Then FDA approval. It is required to collaborate with the applicant to produce the improved prescribing information with the FDA decides information when the FDA decides that a medicine has been demonstrated to be safe or effective, or its intended purpose. Labeling is what it is used to. Now there is a labeling which is also made by the medical writer, and which is also submitted to the regulatory authorities, the labeling and the prescribing information. And according to the label and the prescribing information, only the FDA decide that the medicine, whether it is approved, whether it is safe and effective, because the information which goes on the label. So, and the from the prescribing information, using that prescribing information, only the doctors will prescribe the medicine. And on the labeling also, if it is mentioned, in case if the drug is not for the pregnant woman, it can cause some teratogenic effect, then it should be clearly mentioned on the label of the medicine. The drug should not be taken, or it is prohibited to be used by a pregnant woman. So in that case, the side effects or the adverse reaction which can happen, so that can be minimized, or that can be prevented. Okay. Then, but frequently problems need to be fixed before the medicine is authorized for commercialization. FDA will occasionally ask the developer to respond to inquiries based on available information. In the other situations, the FDA demands more research. The developer can now choose whether or not to carry out additional work. There are procedures for formally appealing an FDA decision if a developer disagrees with it. Now, in that, now after of the if now these problems which arise related to labeling, related to any issue which is related to the approval of the medicine, so that is to be fixed before the drug is in the before the drug enters into the market. Okay. Now the FDA can also ask for some extra exploratory trials, like they can ask for pediatric trials. So in case if the developer, they do not want to conduct those exploratory trials, then they have the choice for waiver. They can ask for the waiver, they can submit the report to the regulatory authorities, and then after that, whatever decision the regulatory authority makes, they have to agree with it. Okay, so this all works. So here in this process of responding to the queries and asking for the waivers and all, meeting with the FDA, here the medical writer is not involved in any way. Here only the regulatory affairs team or regulatory managers or the sponsor, they are only involved.